In a post-game special that I did with Knicks legend Charlie Ward, we spoke about a lot of things, including the Knicks' first preseason game, and he dropped a bombshell for me. He told me that he wasn't a fan of Julius Randle or his isolation play. We're going to break down the report and see exactly what he said. We're also going to look at the odds that potentially Tom Thibodeau could be fired this season for the New York Knicks. All of this and so much more today on the Knicks Digest. New York Knicks legend Charlie Ward is apparently not a fan of Julius Randle's game. So as I mentioned at the top of the show, I had Knicks legend Charlie Ward on my post-game show for the Knicks Recap Podcast. And on that show, he dropped the following bombshell about not being a fan of Julius Randle or his heavy isolation play. According to Charlie Ward, he states the following about Julius Randle. Julius Randle, I do believe has a place. I'm just not a big fan. I know he scores the ball really, really well. I'm just not a big fan of the ISO type of game, which is hard for me to watch. It's hard for me to coach it. It's hard for me to watch it. I just like movement. Move the ball, move bodies, make quick decisions. Oof. What a bombshell by Charlie Ward. Shout out to him. Thank him so much for coming on my podcast and giving me this bombshell of a story here. Because honestly, hearing other players, legends, say they don't like a certain player is not really new. But when a legend tells you exactly why he doesn't like a player and what about that player's game he doesn't like, then there's a little bit more to talk about. He specifically said he does not like Julius Randle's isolation play. For a lot of people who don't know, Ward is a coach right now in Tallahassee. If you remember, the New York Knicks signed Jalen Martin, and he was a protege of Charlie Ward in Tallahassee. And he could tell you exactly how Charlie Ward likes to play and his style of coaching. And going back to Charlie Ward's comments, his style of coaching is not isolation play. He said exactly, it's hard for him to coach that type of play. He doesn't like to see it. He likes ball movement. And that's been the biggest issue with Julius Randle and the biggest knock for his game. He holds the ball 15, 16 seconds, then passes the ball to somebody else and has to make them create with less time. That's not ball movement. That's passing when you're doubled. That's passing out of a double team. That is not the same thing. And I want to make it clear. If you have a lot of assists and you pass the ball, but you're not a playmaker, that's a difference. Let me ask you a story here or a question. Is Russell Westbrook a playmaker or a passer? Is Julius Randle a playmaker or a passer? There's a difference to it because playmakers usually set other people up. Passers are usually people that when you're doubled, you usually make the right read and right pass, and that helps the other person get a shot. That sometimes is different skill sets. I'm not saying they don't share the same type of skill set, but you have to make a clear difference between a passer and a playmaker. Julius Randle is not a playmaker. He is a passer, and he's not a willing passer because at times he'll usually hold the ball, and then once he's doubled or he doesn't have a shot, he'll pass out of that. And sometimes he'll ask for the ball back or he'll give the ball to somebody else with so limited time on the clock that it's extremely hard for that person to make a play with such short amount of time left on the clock. We have to remember that and discuss that when we're talking about Julius Randle. I know a lot of people are not going to like this comment I'm about to say, but I agree with Charlie Ward. I'm not a big fan of isolation play. I love Jalen Brunson, but I even wish he passed the ball just a little bit more because honestly, ball movement is very good basketball to watch. And when everybody touches the ball, everybody's more engaged, everybody's more locked in, everybody's more focused, and that helps the team do better. And for me, it's always going to be about the orange and blue, the New York Knicks, and not one individual player. I might like a lot of players on this team, but I want the Knicks as a whole collectively to do well. And if that means somebody else has to alter their game for that to happen, I'm okay with that. And funny enough, in the first preseason game, when Randle got the ball, he passed it up the court fast to Jalen Brunson or to RJ Barrett. And he was actually, at least for a couple of those possessions, looking like the third option on the Knicks team, with Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett looking like the first two options. And I love to see that, because if you remember on the Paul George podcast, he basically said the same thing. He has no problem taking a step back for others to shine. And maybe that's what we're seeing here. It's only one preseason game, so it's early. But I like what I saw from Randle. I hope we continue to see that. And I'm going to say it again. If Julius Randle has a pass-first mentality, this New York Knicks team shoots all the way up there. Who knows what they can do this season? That's how impactful and important what Julius Randle does for this team is, especially on the passing end. What are the odds that Tom Thibodeau gets fired? I know this is a very odd question to ask, but we have to ask it because BetOnline actually wrote an article about it. So shout out to them. Let's go ahead and talk about that. So according to them, they released the opening odds for the first NBA head coach to be relieved of their duties during the 2023-2024 season. And Tom Thibodeau, set to enter his fourth season at the helm of the New York Knicks, holds the seventh highest odds at 11-1 on a list paced by Billy Donovan of Chicago with 4-1. 11-1 odds for Tom Thibodeau potentially being fired by the New York Knicks. You want to know why this is important? Because sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, when these type of bet odds come out, and they come out from Vegas, or people that know the odds, or odd makers, sometimes it may mean that they know something that we don't know. I'm not saying that anything significant is coming out of this, but if he's 11-1 on odds after leading the New York Knicks to the semis of the Eastern Conference last year, that means for me that a lot of people are watching him to see if he can do it again or better than that. Because maybe people believe and remember that last time he took the New York Knicks to the playoffs, the season afterwards, they were terrible. If Tom Thibodeau has that happen again, I don't think he recovers, and I absolutely agree. I think he's out. But barring that happening, if the New York Knicks get off to a good start, maybe even a hot start, reports like this, honestly, won't matter. And those odds will absolutely change. It's just something good to note that right now, after arguably probably his best season as a Knicks head coach because he got the team to their highest place that they've been to in nearly a decade since the Melo years. And even after all of that, he has the seventh highest odds in terms of BetOnline at 11-1 to be fired. It's just so interesting to note these type of things in the NBA, but I'm here for all of it. I'm going to be covering all of it for the Knicks Digest as well too. Stay tuned and stay ready. We're dropping videos each and every day. We got Dariel, we got Chris. Oh, and side note to both of those guys, when we have a debate about any topic, our views are going to be different, and I'm coming for all of you. I'm coming for you, Dariel. I'm coming for you, Chris. I feel like I'm the older man among young guys here, so I gotta represent and I gotta make sure I let them know what it really is. So definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, because the debates are coming, and I'm telling you now, they're gonna be lively. That's gonna do it for this video. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you're not already doing so. Smash the like button. My name is Troy. I'm out of here. Peace out, Knick fans.